So a little bit about me. My name is Shane. I work in Nobbin Digital. We're a digital transformation agency. Before we kick off today's session, I want to ask you guys, how much would you be willing to pay for a lead or a sale through digital marketing? You don't need to answer it now, just hold that thought, okay? The takeaway for this session is I want to give you guys the structure and the bones to be able to achieve that through Google Ads, okay? Guys, I'm really excited to be here in front of you guys and in front of the audience online. If you haven't picked up, I'm Irish. I actually used to work with a partner of Fishburners in Ireland. They're called Dogpatch Labs. Similar setup, and I was a mentor there. So would love to be a familiar face here, whether it be through other sessions. In my time, I worked in Google. I was there for about 4 years. Worked as a product specialist, so worked across different products like bidding and audience, trying to really bring the newest tech and innovations from Google to the audience, such as yourselves. Along that path, I worked as a startup program manager. So worked in a program where we took on startups similar to yourselves, of the residents that are here and even just for the public, for 90 days. And we accelerated their growth by upskilling them and giving them the means to be able to grow their business through Google Ads. And that's kind of what we're trying to emulate within Nobbin Digital. We're trying to obviously work with some great clients, but upskill them so that they can check into their account and see what's working, what's not working, and then keep us honest to deliver better results. Hopefully that. Just get my clicker. So, why am I up here? We live in a connected world, even more so than ever before. People are all working from home. They never leave their laptop, even if they had done before. Now every meeting is through digital. And that gives a huge opportunity for businesses today to reach you guys at any moment, at any turn. Last week, I believe it was Andrew from Digital Mass was saying that we look at our phones 300 times a day. I'd say it's more than that at the moment, the way that everyone is so connected. So, huge opportunity for you guys, and hopefully we can take a few things away from the session. It wouldn't be a Google Talk without a few stats. Let's make this session interactive, ask questions. I want you guys to take something away from it, okay? So, can you guess how many searches happen globally on Google a day? Can we say that again? Any other takers? I hear a lot of 4 billions. It's 5.6 billion. And it's growing in a double-digit growth every year. It's astronomical when you've got those kind of numbers. That's a huge opportunity for businesses, and it means that people are relying more on search than they ever have done before. How many searches per day have never been searched before? As a percentage. Thank you, man, for supporting me. Anyone else a taker? Super interesting. It's 17%. Google's been around for so long. People are searching every day. There's 5.6 billion searches every day. Yet 17% haven't been searched before. Huge opportunity for marketers. It's just how do we actually target these searches? Because these searches are the cheaper searches, and these are the searches that your customers are looking for now, and we can make product innovations based on what people are searching. Does anyone know, I suppose, what's driving that at the moment? Voice search. 27% of the global population is actively using voice search. I myself am getting there, but that's growing more and more. Big opportunity for us. And then, from a commercial aspect, we all know Google's main revenue stream is through its ads business. What is the percentage of searches that show at least one ad here in Australia? 100% I hear. It is 30%. 100% would be huge. Think about it. If someone searches dog, we don't really want to show an ad for that, or something like free, cancel. But at the same time, 30% is huge, because we go to Google for pretty much anything. 1 in 3 searches show an ad. It means there's a huge commercial opportunity there. Shows your competitors are probably doing it if you're not already there, or if you're doing it, there's still a big opportunity. So today's session will be broken up into 3 different sections. First off, getting started, answering some of those big questions like, what should my keywords be? What should my budget be? What can I expect from my results? These are questions that oftentimes I heard when I was in market in the UK. The answer was, it depends. I try to avoid that and give you guys the tools and the ability to try and make informed decisions, because Google has a warehouse full of data. We need to use it for our businesses. Then leveraging data and automation, this is the exciting part. For a single search, there's up to 70 million signals that are computed. We can only analyze a certain amount of that, but we need to be able to try and take what's relevant for us and put it into our ad strategy. And then finally, reporting and optimizing. No good strategy happens without reporting and optimizing and planning. That's a huge basis for what an agency does to keep things continually growing. But for you guys, if you are managing it yourself, this is going to be a fundamental. Or if you have an agency or someone managing your account, I think knowing this and being aware of this will allow you to know what's actually happening in the background. So, big question. What keywords do I target? I'm going to take an example of koala. I think they were a former resident of Fishburners. Understanding what your keywords are can be pretty difficult, and a lot of people go off a hunch. It's like, if I am koala, mattresses, or whatever relevant terms are. But we need to get an idea of how expensive would it be if I was to invest in that. Google has a tool there, and even if you have a Google Ads account and you're currently spending, I suggest you go into this. Or if you don't even want to start spending yet, create an account, and this tool is freely available for you. Essentially, all you have to do is input your URL. Google will scan your entire website and spit out all the relevant search terms associated to your business over the last 30 days or as far back as 5 years. Realistically, you want to look at the last 30 days because that's what's relevant to you. 5 years ago was like 50 years ago in terms of tech and digital. So what it will do in terms of koala, you can see here, there's actually an increase in searches month over month. Super good for them. Obviously, it's great to see that there's month over month growth. That's more people are interested in, home improvement and things like that. But if you can squint your eyes, or if you have a magnifying glass in your back pocket, what you will see here, I'll explain it out, is the monthly searches for a specific search term. And then it will say in this section here, the competition, right? Competition will tell you how expensive it is going to be to target that term. It will actually tell you exactly how much it will cost. For mattress on its own, it's $4.89. For some of you guys that have a smaller budget, you might be like, nah, I can't afford that. That's perfect. Don't include that. But a lot of advertisers jump in with 2 feet and learn from their mistakes. Here, you don't have to learn from your mistakes. Does that make sense, everyone? All good? Next questions would be, how much do I invest? I heard it asked last week. And what results can I expect? This is really where Google's really trying to give you that bit more power. So how much should I invest? Let's tackle that one first. You've selected, let's say, 30 to 40 keywords that you're interested in targeting. Actually, just even to go back a little bit, is everyone familiar with what a keyword is? Just to, I suppose, run back to the basics quickly. A keyword is your way of surfacing an ad for a specific search term. Take koala. Mattress is something that someone's searching. If they want to show up for that, they input a word into their account to target it, and that's known as a keyword, okay? So for this, you input your 30 to 40 different keywords that you're interested in, and Google will tell you how much you should be spending to get a certain amount of clicks, to get a certain amount of impressions. That's just your ad showing. Now for you, I asked you earlier on if you're aware of how much you're willing to spend on a lead or a sale. But if you think, maybe from your Google Analytics account, I know how much a sale or a lead is worth for me. And from my Google Analytics account, from SEO or other things that I'm doing, I know what my conversion rate is. So of the people that go onto my site, how many are actually converting? If you input that into this tool, it will tell you for $4.7 thousand per month, you will get 43 conversions, and at that it will generate $21,000 and give you a 4.5 to 1 return. Super effective, and this is the way that I would always start things out when I'm consulting a client from the very beginning and say, this is what you can expect, rather than finger in the air and being quite disappointed with the results. Next thing is, understanding what your marketing goal is. I know I asked you earlier on how much is a sale or a lead worth to you, but the same thing goes for John Waneker's famous quote of 50% of my marketing works, I just don't know which half. That can't be the case when it comes to digital. Everything's transparent, everything can be measured, everything can be controlled. So you choose which ones are relevant to you. You can range from micro conversion all the way down to a macro conversion. Ideally, you want to be tracking a lead or a sale. But sometimes advertisers have told me that, Shane, I only get one sale a week. That's super valuable to me. It's worth X amount, and we can keep tracking on that. But if I only have one sale per week, I can't really tell what's working well and what's not working well on my account because I only have one data point. Perfect. What you need to then start measuring is a micro conversion. So someone visiting a page, someone downloading a brochure, which is a little bit old school, you could say they've hopped through 3 different pages and engaged with a single video. If your Google Ads investment, you're paying, let's say, $5 for a click or $1, whatever it is generating that kind of engagement, it means it's working. For the more advanced advertisers, some of the finance players that I would have been working with at leading banks back in the UK, what they were doing was actually measuring offline sales. And this could be part of your Google Ads journey. Essentially, you can optimize towards a phone call or a lead, but things happen offline. And that's where the money works for you. So what you can then do is, if your data is set up correctly, you can import the information from an offline sale. Let's say your sales team closes a deal, and then you can put it back into your Google Ads account, and it will reflect a single keyword, let's say, keeping the koala example going, king-size mattress. You can see what day, time, and how much it costs to get that click, and it actually generated into a closed deal. This is advanced, but this is what the leading players are doing, and you guys, if you have the data available, it's more than capable for you guys to do. So we've identified our keywords, we've identified our budget, we've identified our conversion action. The big thing that a lot of people waste some investment on, get super frustrated when they're using Google Ads, is the keyword structure, and it's broken up into what's called a match type. Is anyone familiar with the different match types? That's absolutely fine. That's why I'm here. So, essentially, if we keep with the koala example, the search term, or the keyword that koala wants to target is king mattress, right? If they want to surface an ad for that, and only that, they can use what's called an exact match keyword, whereby it comes with a squared bracket, and it's at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of the reach that it can get. This generally has the highest performance, but it minimizes an awful lot of reach. At the top of the funnel where you get an awful lot more reach is what's called broad match. Generally, when people start their Google Ads journey, they start with broad match. This should not be the case, because people starting out now don't have a huge budget. They may not have a massive brand. And in the case of broad match for king mattress, that ad could possibly show for someone typing in free mattress Sydney. So it's not relevant to their business at all. Does that make sense? So if you have a Google Ads account, I would err on the side of caution for a broad match term and start using what's called a broad match modifier or phrase match. That's what all of our accounts are using. It means that you're getting some form of reach, and a heightened performance. If you can see the case there, free mattress Sydney, it's not relevant. That person should be going to Facebook Marketplace or something like that, and not having Koala pay $3 for a click to bring someone on that's irrelevant. The heavy lifting's nearly done. You've got everything set up. What should your account look like? There's a huge amount of different opinions on it. No answer is truly right. From my experience, at a basic setup, this is generally what your account could look like, okay? It's broken up into 3 different campaigns. A campaign is your way of controlling the budget that you want to allocate for a specific service or a specific part of your business. For Koala, what they could do would be, we have a generic campaign. That's for new customer acquisition, right? So they're going to target Mattress Sydney, mattress, best mattress Sydney, and comfortable mattress. See the way I used exact match on mattress on its own. Reason being is, if I had what's called broad match, remember at the top of the pyramid, at mattress, I get any association to mattress on its own. Could be free mattress, could be cancel mattress, could be refund a mattress, not relevant for koala. Then we have a defensive strategy. This is particularly important on mobile, okay? Where you target your actual brand terms. A lot of people are like, I don't want to invest in my brand. However, when we think about mobile, and if you don't have a very strong SEO strategy, when someone searches on mobile, the first result that comes up is an ad. Then, if you were at last week's session, Andrew highlighted that maps is super important. So people have to scroll past the map, and then they get to your SEO result. That's a lot of scrolling. I think it's 2 full scrolls of your average mobile device at the moment to find your organic result. So I would suggest having a brand strategy. Then you can have an aggressive strategy. This sometimes can be frowned upon, but Google abide by it. And what you'll see is sometimes if you type in your own brand, one of your competitors will show up. It can be super frustrating, but a lot of advertisers are doing this to acquire some of their competitors' traffic. For the example of koala, this is probably a bad example. I have IKEA. But if you had IKEA as a phrase match, IKEA have a huge amount of different products, not super relevant for them. They should probably have IKEA mattress. And then MS Sleep, jellyfish mattress, for instance. So this is a way that some advertisers are getting kind of a step ahead of their competitors. Okay, heavy lifting's done. Now we're on to the exciting part. Huge amount of information for us to try and digest as advertisers, as business owners. It's about just picking what's relevant to us and sticking with that and investing in that as well. So where does all the data come from when we could talk about Google? They've got 7 properties with 1 billion users on each of them, which is insane. They're obviously large organizations themselves nearly. The seriously strong part of Google's targeting is when it comes to Google search and YouTube, 2 of the biggest search engines in the world. Both have way more than 1 billion users on them. And when we think about search, you're sharing, I suppose, your information, and advertisers can target that. On Google search, you're not going to search for something that you're not interested in. It would be a complete waste of time. Whereas with other social platforms, you can be amused by something that's not super relevant to you. And that's not to say that social is not a good strategy. We obviously manage that ourselves, and it's really, really effective. But we think about the audience targeting with Google, it's really pinpoint. So let's take an example of how this looks within a Google Ads account and a Google Ads strategy. Meet Sabi. Sabi's here. An advertiser, let's say we're an advertiser and we are selling HR software, right? We've identified our keywords, we have our campaign structure, we have all the bells and whistles on. Now we need to start looking at audience profiling. We need to try and understand, is this person that's searching for what I'm willing to pay on as HR software relevant to my business? Sabi has been on a competitor site. In Google lingo, that means a similar audience. So you can add that to your Google Ads strategy and start targeting people that have been on similar sites. He's also a business owner, a tech business owner. That's what Google calls a detailed demographic. So you can add that to your Google Ads investment to qualify everything that someone's searching for. So if someone's searching for HR software, I'd be willing to pay a bit more on that person if I know that they are a tech business owner. And he's interested in SaaS for HR. Okay, so software as a service. That means he's in market. Google has a targeting thing for that. If you use social, very, very similar. So that audience profiling combined with what can be digested in a single search, there's up to 70 million signals that can be computed at a single search. From your Google Ads account, it's understood that Sabi at 8 a.m. searched for HR software. He was on an Android device, he's based in Sydney, and he was using Chrome. Based on the combination of the audience profile and the real-time signals on the search, it predicts there's a possible 2% of a conversion rate happening there. Take Shane, myself. I visited your site for 5 seconds, wasn't interested, bounced straight off. That's called a site visitor audience list. You can retarget these kind of people if you find that they're relevant for you. This is what Man was explaining earlier. Or on the flip side, you can exclude them from your marketing and your investment. Why? Because they've already told us by jumping off our website in 5 seconds, not interested. But a lot of advertisers will continually advertise to them because they're not segmenting their audience lists. Next one is, I'm a digital native, so I'm kind of relevant. That would be an affinity list. It's just based on my interests. And then the last one would be, I'm interested in HR roles, so I'm in market for jobs. Completely useless for a HR software company. Adding up everything else, I've got a 0.4% conversion likelihood. So two completely different customers. But if you're ignoring audience signals and you're ignoring Google's automation power, you're going to be willing to pay $3 for someone typing in HR software. That is a 2% likelihood, or someone that has a 0.4% likelihood. And that's where a lot of advertisers are losing and an awful lot of advertisers are winning. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? All good? Let's go. Yeah. I think by Google's terminology, there's something super similar to that. And yeah, exactly, absolutely. And it's called an affinity audience. And the way that you've split them up, so there's in-market and there's affinity. I usually use the example of tennis, for instance, right? So affinity audience, which is a digital native, so someone that's interested in, is someone that's interested in the stats of Wimbledon, who won Wimbledon. Whereas an in-market audience is someone that's interested in buying tickets to Wimbledon. As a business owner, and you don't have a huge budget, I'd pick the in-market guys 5 times over than the affinity guys. Does that make sense? Okay, so jumping to the audience profiling section. How are some of the leading advertisers, and it's not even leading advertisers anymore, it's this is really, I suppose, the foundation now of the way we use Google Ads, and it's really emulated from the success of audience strategies on social and Facebook and Instagram. For advertisers now, what they're doing is they're bidding more, so they're what they call preferential bidding. They're willing to pay more for someone that's more qualified. Remember Sabi, he's told us that he's super qualified, so instead of paying maybe a standard $1 per click, we're willing to pay $3 for him because he's way more likely to convert. The other flip side could be you don't actually show at all if you know that, for me, Shane, wasn't relevant, so we'd reduce our bid by 50%. They're changing their messaging. So if you have identified who this person is to a certain level, you can change your messaging in real time. You can say, you can give them an offer or send a new brand message that's more compelling to someone that's been on your site before. And then finally, you can retarget. So this is what Man explained at the beginning. Advertisers are using this. If someone that's been on the site before, they're retargeting through a image-based advertisement across different websites. For instance, if you're looking at Koala again, and you're looking at a mattress 2 or 3 days later, they're resurfacing image-based ads to bring you back to that specific landing page. And that's called remarketing as a fundamental. It can be done on social, done on Google Ads. But having this as part of your overall strategy proves super successful. So a question that's always asked and always will be asked is, how much should I pay for a click? Based on what we've learned before, it's pretty much impossible to know. There's, at the beginning, at the dawn of time, all we had to really worry about was people on desktops searching for keywords, and there was probably 1 or 2 competitors. I think Andrew mentioned last week that there's 2,500 agencies in Australia alone. Multiply that by the amount of clients they have, and then the clients that aren't using them, there's a huge ecosystem to different advertisers, and then there's 5.6 billion searches per day on Google. We can't decipher all this. So what we need to start doing is going back to my initial question and start optimizing towards how much you're actually willing to pay for a lead or a sale. Essentially, instead of worrying about your 30 or 40 keywords and how much I should be paying for this one versus this one, you just tell Google Ads that I'm willing to pay $50 for a lead, and it will do all the heavy lifting for you. Now, it's not as simple as that. That's why, there's agencies in business that are, continually optimizing on that. But as a fundamental, this is the way it should work, and you shouldn't be thinking about how much should I be paying. So the question is if you have a competitor or 3 competitors, you're all paying for the same click or the same search term, does Google or Google Ads consider how many people actually visit your site, or is it just based on how much you're willing to pay for a click? It's not just based on how much you're willing to pay for a click. At the beginning it was, and it was a standard auction. Your customers in front of you, all your competitors are beside you, and whoever's willing to pay the most goes. There's an awful lot of different variables in it, but what it won't really consider is your SEO ranking or how many people you're driving to your business based on organic or referrals. It will only consider what's happening from a Google search ads perspective. But if you are sending, let's say, whatever the number is, X amount of people to your website, and the people that go to your website are spending 2 or 3 minutes on your site, and you have a conversion rate of 5%, and people are watching the videos and maybe downloading a brochure, Google Ads is reporting all that because it's going back into your Google Ads account. It will say that this advertiser has a super compelling website, and we will give this person a preference and push them to a higher position for a lower cost than what your competitors are having. Does that answer the question? Okay, big one. How can I get cheaper clicks? Everyone's a bargain hunter, and they should be. There is ways of doing it, and this is a strategy which I have in every single one of the accounts that we manage. And in the past, I used to train up agencies across the UK. This was something that they embedded into every strategy. The way to do it is what's called a dynamic search campaign. Okay. So what that does essentially is it scans your entire website, okay, and it interprets every landing page, all the content on it. When someone searches for something that's relevant to the landing pages, the Google Ads account will create a customized ad and direct someone to that landing page. Now, you might be thinking, how does that get me a cheaper click? Because people are searching in completely different ways, and you and your competitors won't have a keyword that might be 2021 or 2020 free best mattress in Sydney, extra quality, or whatever it is, super long tail. But this campaign will pick up those kind of search terms and put you into a better position. For advertisers, if we think of, let's say, booking.com, they've got thousands of different landing pages. Can you imagine how long it would take to write an individual ad, an individual keyword for all the different landing pages they have? It'd be impossible. What they use is a dynamic search campaign, a very advanced one, that will surface a relevant ad for every type of query associated to a hotel or accommodation in a specific location across the world. Does that make sense? Cool. And how do I show the right ad? So we've got loads of different keywords. We've got multiple campaigns. The question is, now customers want to see a relevant ad, and they're very impatient when they see something that's not relevant. So instead of you having to write hundreds of different ads, there's a solution for you. That solution is called a responsive search ad. This is now kind of automatically input into the account, okay? Before, Google asked you to create individual ads for every type of kind of theme within the account. So if we imagine at the example before of having 3 different campaigns, Google would expect you to kind of write 9 different ads. For some advertisers, they have a much more complex setup, and they'd be writing hundreds of different ads for an individual campaign. Instead of doing that, what you can do is input 15 different headlines. So it could be best mattress in Sydney, high quality mattress free delivery. Input 15 of those and 4 different description fields. A description field is why should someone buy from you? A little bit about the business, kind of highlight what's on your About Us page. It will then interpret what that search term was, and based on the variations of headlines and description fields, it will show a relevant ad. There's up to 105 variations. So instead of spending 2 or 3 hours creating multiple ads, in about 5 minutes, you can create one of these, and it will create 105 ads for you. Does that make sense? This was something that Andrew last week highlighted. GMB, showing your location, is super important. To your point as well, Google will rank you higher if you write compelling ads, if you give relevant information that will allow people to be brought to more relevant parts of your website and just highlight your services. And the way you do that is through an ad extension. An ad extension can be seen in the form of this section here, where it's a site link. It's redirecting people to a more relevant landing page. Someone could type in something very general, in this case for employment hero, for HR software, but they might be interested in going to the employee engagement section, but they just typed in something general. So if you redirect them there, that's obviously good. It also takes up a huge amount more of real estate on the Google search results page. If you see there, without the 4 different links, you're seeing a very, very small ad that can be easily ignored. Then on the other example, we have Gemini. They are telling people to call them. They're providing that there. Or their location. Again, making them seem more established in Sydney, showing their location. You'll pay for a click if someone engages with one of those 3 call to actions. So if someone clicks the headline, they'll be directed to your website. If someone clicks the location section, they'll be brought to your maps and then the phone call. Finally, last section is reporting and optimizing. I think this is something that's very much missed within the community of Google Ads advertisers, people that are particularly using agencies and things like that. They kind of maybe wait for a report to come. I think you should really have the power in your own hands to look in and see what's working and what's not working. I really do think it's a fundamental. A other point for you to report on, and I think this is really, really useful, is what's called the search terms tab. You pay for a click and you want to know, what do people actually search that I paid for? This can be used for multiple ways. You can see I've paid $100 in the last day and I've looked at the search terms and not a single one of them is relevant to my business. Something's wrong, so we need to change it. Or you could see that this has actually resulted in some really good results and there's one single search term that's working really, really, really well. That could be for HR software, free quote, for instance, as a search term. What you could do there would be create an individual campaign and put a certain amount of budget, maybe $10, $20 just behind that search term because it's doing so well. The other thing is we're working with a bakery in Sydney. What they were looking at was they were looking at their search terms and they were seeing people were searching for ketogenic type cakes. And they didn't have ketogenic cakes in their bakery, but they had the ability to create those cakes very easily. And through their search terms, they were inspired to create a new product range and started delivering them. They were then getting a 10-to-1 return on ketogenic cakes. It was really niche. Nobody was really advertising for it, but their consumers were looking for it. So you can use it from an optimization kind of standpoint and a way to inspire your next range of products or features for whatever software or elements of your business. The next one, and this is what Google put a ton of hours into doing, is the recommendations tab, and it's also called the optimization score. This is your bread and butter for reporting, keeping whoever's managing your account honest, and really just trying to identify what more can I be doing. Okay, so for the example in this account here, I know you probably had to squint your eyes quite a bit. It says the optimization score is 70%, okay? So there's 30% to go. Generally speaking, the industry average you should be aiming for is 80 to 85%. What it's saying here is it gives you different recommendations to get it to that 100%, okay? So it's saying that if you implement what's called target CPA, that is called target cost per acquisition. And that's a bidding strategy, which we were talking about earlier, whereby if you've identified how much you're willing to pay for a lead, instead of trying to manage the individual clicks, this is saying that if you were to make this based on its computing power, you'll be able to get 3.69 thousand more conversions with an incremental investment. But it's highlighting and understanding what's happening in the account, what's happening in the industry, and giving you suggested recommendations to complete in the account. Sometimes these won't be relevant for you, and it might tell you to add random keywords. Dismiss them. You don't have to listen to it. I once had an advertiser that kind of thought it was a game to try and get to 100 and basically allowed absolutely everything to go into the account and wasted a huge amount of budget because a lot of the recommendations or some of the recommendations weren't super relevant. So you need to kind of be that business owner and make the decision on what's valid for your business or not. This is your bread and butter in terms of optimizing your account and knowing what's working. So hopefully you've got a few takeaways. The goal really was for you to be able to open up your account, know what to look for, and know how to optimize your account and know what's working. So in terms of takeaways, keywords and budget, go to Keyword Planner. It will tell you what your keyword should be, what people are searching for, how many times a month they're searching for it, and what your budget should be. Next one would be optimize towards your goal, not your clicks. If you're willing to pay $50 for a sale or a lead, work with that rather than trying to figure out, should I pay $3 for HR software or $2.50 for premium HR software. The next one would be identify and target your audience. We saw myself and Sabi were completely different customers, but if you're not trying to identify who those are, you'll end up paying the same for someone that's super valuable and someone that's not valuable at all. And then the final one, optimization score to grow and build your account. Guys, thanks very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being interactive. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed it.